We've shared some of our family's health journey before. Today, I thought it would be fun and very valuable for you to hear from Bella herself about what it's like growing up in a holistic home, her past food sensitivities, and her story in her own words. I'm very honored and thrilled to have my very favorite person, Bella, joining me today, and my husband, Tony Green. We are pulling back the curtain and sharing our personal journey of raising our daughter, Bella, over the last 18 years, mostly organic and outside the traditional medical model.
Welcome to Root Cause Holistic Health. I'm Dr. John Harmon, physician, brain health expert, and your host on this no-fluff journey into whole body healing.
And I'm Tracey Green, wellness coach, mom, and co-host. This is the space where we get real about what actually heals, not just what's trending.
If you're done with surface level advice and ready to understand your body, your mind, and your health from the inside out, this podcast is for you.
We're here for the raw conversations most people avoid. We don't sugarcoat, we don't shame. We offer tools, truths, and transformation.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Root Cause Holistic Health podcast. I'm your host, Tracey Green, and today's episode is extra special. My husband, Tony Green. Want to say hi?
Hello.
And my daughter, Bella. Hi.
I like how we said mostly organic, because we've always been the 80-20 rule. If you eat good for 80% of the time, you can splurge 20% of the time. And it's nice that she ate well most of the time, but I'm kind of proud that she's never had a Happy Meal or eaten at
McDonald's. Our 18-year-old daughter has never eaten at McDonald's. We are very proud of that, extremely proud of that. Never had a Happy Meal, for sure.
Yeah.
We really never had, air quotes, regular doctors or prescriptions, and never just covered up the symptoms. Instead, it was about finding the root cause, prevention, and trusting the body's design. So if you've followed me for a long time, you've heard Bella's story, and I'm going to just dive into it just a little bit because it'll make sense to people that haven't heard Bella's story. When I was pregnant, so August of 2007, I was in a car accident. And without going into all the details, I refused service at the ER because I didn't want the MRI, I didn't want the CAT scan and all the x-rays. I was really worried about Bella. I had the car accident and I went into labor. They stopped the labor. The next day, my husband was able to take me to the chiropractor, and I'm so thankful that I just needed an adjustment and I was good. While we were at the chiropractor's that day, he asked us if we were going to vaccinate Bella. And of course, the answer was yes. At that point, Tony and I had been vaccinated. You know, we grew up in the 70s and 80s, went to the doctor. I have been going to a chiropractor since I was 7. My godfather was actually a chiropractor. So I had a little experience in the holistic world, but really not a whole lot. So when our chiropractor asked us if we were planning on vaccinating Bella, the answer was yes. And then he's like, okay, well, here are some DVDs and some books. Read these and then, let me know what you think. Because of course, since my car accident, I was going to be seeing him, quite a few times to get my back put back into place. Do you remember reading those books that night?
Yeah, I remember that that was kind of the shift of our mindset, because we were just like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. Things that made sense before started to not make sense.
And it was scary to me, too, to actually read through. So back then in 2007, the internet wasn't as censored as it is now. So you could have Googled back then vaccine injuries and side effects and the list of what could happen versus actually getting the measles, mumps, or whatever. I mean, that was so simple compared to what could happen to a vaccine reaction or vaccine injury. That was lifetime versus a rash and a fever.
Yeah. I think about the people now who talk about chickenpox like it's the plague.
I was fully vaccinated. Yeah.
We're going to get chickenpox. It's like, and? I mean, I got chickenpox and it was like nothing. It's not even that big of a deal.
And weren't you fully vaccinated? Air quotes.
I was.
I was fully vaccinated as well. So it's interesting that you're fully vaccinated, but yet you still get it. And really, like you said, it's not a big deal at all.
Not a big deal.
None of what we vaccinate for are a really big deal. Thankfully, we have modern medicine and you get the chickenpox, you get the measles. It's not as bad to get the measles as it is to get a vaccine injury, for sure. And your chances of vaccine injury far outweigh your chances of getting the measles or mumps.
Plus, if you get them, they increase your immune system. they boost your immune system. So you have a stronger immune system so that you can actually naturally just fight stuff off. I mean, you don't get sick very often. I don't get sick. I haven't been sick for 5 years. I never got COVID. The last time I got the flu was when I got the flu shot.
Right. Right.
Right?
I remember that.
Getting out of the guard.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And they talk, they sound like they have to. And I knew better, but I did it anyway. And lo and behold, I got the flu.
When I had Bella, she had a allergic reaction to the eye goop, also known as erythromycin, which I didn't even know about. For some reason, that wasn't ever explained to me. It wasn't added to the birth plan. So if you're pregnant and you have OBGYN care and you're married or you have a partner throughout your whole pregnancy and you know you don't have any STDs, you actually do not need to get the erythromycin put in the baby's eyes. The reason they put the erythromycin in the baby's eyes is if the mom has an STD and then the baby could get blind from the STD, which if you're married and you have OB care is a non-issue. So for my daughter to get the eye goop in her eyes and then have a horrible allergic reaction, her left eye swelled almost immediately. It was awful. She didn't even need it. It was unnecessary. And really, between August, September, October, I was learning more and more about all of the pharmaceuticals, all the vaccinations, and all the things that these babies just really didn't need.
Yeah. You did so much research during that time. You were researching literally everything.
And then I breastfed her until she was 3. My sister breastfed my niece until she was 3. So I thought that was a thing that, that's just what you do. So between the ages of 2 and 3, we started making our own baby food. And then when I can't remember how old she was when I took her to her first well baby. We delayed it a long time because of all the information we were given in August from the chiropractor. September and October, I wasn't done researching. I didn't want to fully vaccinate her. So her first well baby visit was a month, maybe 2 months in. And of course, she ended up with a small vaccine reaction, which I'm so grateful that it ended up just being a swollen thigh. And at that time, it was a small reaction. I would find out later, about 7 years later, what actually really happened to her. But she had high fever that night and her little thigh was completely swollen. So between the ages of, 3 and 7, all we did was we took her to the chiropractor regularly. We took her to the eye doctor.
Yep.
And dentist.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yep.
And then when she was 7, she was out riding her bike and she said, "Mom, my head hurts." So came in, no big deal. And then she laid on the couch. She seemed to be okay a little while later. And then it started becoming an everyday thing. "Mom, my head hurts." Bella, what do you remember? Take us back to when you were 7.
I had a headache for a year in my forehead area. And I remember we went to many different types of doctors. It was like a revolving door. We were all constantly walking in and out of doctors' offices. We went to 14 different doctors. And finally, we found a doctor that helped fix my headache.
Do you remember going to the ear, nose, and throat doctor and they put the cameras up your nose? Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, I do.
You do? Do you remember how that felt? Were you scared? Do you remember anything about that?
I just wanted to go home that day.
Another doctor she had seen was a neurologist, and he had worked part-time in Boise and part-time in Seattle. So we're super lucky to get an appointment with him. And he had wanted to put Bella on an anti-seizure pill.
Yeah, that was so ridiculous.
Do you remember that day? And I remember being in his office.
Life.
Yeah, forever. And I remember being in his office, and he had a lot of degrees and a lot of letters behind his name. And I remember telling him, "Look, I'm just a mom. I understand you're very educated. It doesn't make sense to give my daughter a synthetic drug for seizures when she's not having seizures. She's just having a headache. I want to find the root cause." So really, right there.
Yeah.
That was probably the moment I created root cause, because I was so upset with all these doctors wanting to mask this headache, wanting to throw, nose sprays and allergy medicines and now seizure pills. Do you remember that day?
Yeah.
How mad I was that he just wanted to give you a prescription and didn't want to figure out why you had a headache?
Yeah, he wanted to put a Band-Aid on the problem rather than try to actually fix it.
Oh, I love that. Put a Band-Aid on the problem. And I remember him looking me in the eye and he says, "Tracey, I see 20 to 30 kids a week with headaches. This seizure medicine has been fantastic." And I remember looking at him. Don't you think that it's more concerning that you see 20 to 30 kids a week with a headache and we're not finding out why these kids are having headache and you're just giving them medicine? But now I know, big pharma and, kickbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but it's just sad. It's sad that there are doctors out there that aren't willing to really dive in and find out what the root cause is when it's something as simple as just tweaking your diet.
We did have a pediatrician, so we took her to him also.
And my husband was working with military, and he actually was out of town in upstate New York. Do you remember that? You were upstate New York? Middle of the summer, pulled her out of swimming lessons, pulled her out of karate. She, wasn't having a normal summer because every morning she was laying on the couch, Mom, my head hurts. This had been going on for almost a year. Every day, Mom, my head hurts. Mom, my head hurts. So finally, one night, doing what I do, research, Googling, looking, trying to figure out I Googled every kind of headache. I tried to figure out what was causing her headache. And I found a naturopath. And I thought, well, I'd never heard of a naturopath. And I thought, well, what the heck? What's one more doctor? So the naturopath was doctor number 14. And had I not been there with Bella, I don't know that I would have really believed what had happened, because it was absolutely crazy what had happened. You remember that at all?
Yeah, I remember I lay down just like the table, and we tested lots of vials against my head to see if I had any reactions to it. And then from there, we were able to figure out that I had a slight corn sensitivity and an egg sensitivity in particular.
And if you've never had muscle testing done by a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor, I highly recommend it. We all need it. Your kids, everybody needs muscle testing. So he grabs the corn vial and he literally puts the corn vial right above Bella's forehead. And I watched her little forehead twitch. She had a physical reaction to the corn vial. It didn't touch her. It was just right above her forehead. And she goes, Mom, that hurts. And I'm sitting there, I was watching. I was like, what in the world's happening? So he sets the corn vial down and then he grabs the egg vial. And same thing, he puts it right above her little forehead and her little forehead twitch. Mom, that hurts. So he goes, okay, we are going to start with corn and egg. And I looked at him and I said, what does that mean? And he said, we need to take corn and egg out of her diet. She has a food sensitivity. And I remember the moment thinking, her headache is caused by corn and egg. And I remember thinking corn and egg is in everything.
I remember thinking, how is it that simple?
So we go to check out, and the naturopath gives us, a 30, 60, and 90-day regimen to clean her gut. She had leaky gut syndrome. So we had probiotics and supplements, and, my marching orders were go clean out the refrigerator, clean out your pantry, and now it's all organic. You're reading all of the labels. That was really when I started reading labels.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, now almost 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was really eye-opening reading labels back then, because who knew, that maltodextrin was a corn derivative? I didn't know that there were 70 plus derivatives of corn, but I fast learned. But I think the next day we went to the grocery store. We sat in the aisle. Do you remember sitting in the aisle with me and looking at all of the ingredients on the back of packages?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what we were going to eat. We used to call it the rabbit diet. Do you remember eating like a rabbit? Carrots and lettuce and water.
I didn't like the diet at all.
All organic fruits, vegetables, and water.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was, I had to eat probiotics twice a day. I had to watch what I ate. I couldn't eat my favorite foods anymore. It wasn't just, eating organic food. It was really restricting what I could eat. The
next morning, I'm going to cry because it was really powerful. I remember opening the refrigerator and I remember grabbing the chocolate milk and I thought, chocolate milk? Oh, I'll check the ingredients. They're probably fine. And I remember flipping the chocolate milk over and the first ingredient was high fructose corn syrup. And I didn't give you chocolate milk the next morning and you didn't have a headache. Yeah. I remember everything that you already outlined, but I think the main thing that stuck out to me the most at the time was how something so small as something that you eat every day could cause a serious health problem like you having a headache or eventually getting leaky gut syndrome. So what did you learn from that whole experience going to 13 different doctors and they just wanted to put a Band-Aid on it, as you said? I think I learned that a lot of doctors, obviously I'm talking about general doctors. Obviously I'm not applying this to all doctors. I think a lot of doctors just want to fit the bill, right? They just want something that's easy. They want to prescribe medicine to someone, and I feel like a lot of complicated problems have simple solutions instead of eating a pill every day. 10 years ago, how it was such a pivotal moment for us, really reading labels and stuff. Mm-hmm.
I remember the other story. She came home and said, so my friend took me to the store today and was asking me if I'd ever tried this candy or this candy. Do you remember this?
Yes.
She's like, Belle, have you ever? Or she's like, oh, these are good. And Belle's like, what are those? And she's like, but you haven't had these? And she's like, no. And so then she went around. It was a game. Have you had these? And Belle's like, no. Have you had these? And Belle said, no.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Was it hard or embarrassing that you hadn't eaten all of those candies and snacks?
No, I didn't really think anything of it.
Didn't care.
No.
Anyway, it's kind of fun. It's fun that she has not had a whole lot of non-healthy items.
She's fully aware of, we were fully aware of red dye and processed food and the horrible ingredients years ago before RFK, which we're super grateful for. RFK has brought all of that to light, which all of this stuff that is in our food supply should have never been there in the first place. Having all these companies taking out these ingredients now, they should have never put them in there in the first place. When you're not with us, do you still think about, like when you're out with your friends, do you think about what you order or what you buy at the grocery store?
I think that's common sense. I just think about, like, obviously everything's 80-20. Like, I try to eat healthy 80% of the time, but then obviously I have Coca-Cola every now and then or something that's not great for me, because I feel like if you eat healthy all the time, then you don't have any wiggle room. So
You're gonna miss out. That's interesting that you brought up the 80-20 rule. Your dad brought that up earlier. So I'm glad that we've instilled that in you. I mean, I get it. It's really hard to eat healthy all the time and rabbit food or eating things that taste like cardboard sometimes. I totally get it. The other thing that I learned, there is egg protein in vaccinations. So had I fully vaccinated Bella, she would have ended up with a lifetime of migraines and probably never been able to diagnose it. So stopping her vaccines early on when she was just a few months old actually saved her.
And how did nobody else even figure that out? You know, how does someone not think that it could be a sensitivity?
And then fast forward, the naturopath gave us a whole regimen and, we cleaned out her gut, healed her. We did 30, like I said, it was a 30, 60-day healing process. And then after, I think 3 months, you're able to introduce corn and egg again, and then you were totally fine. Like you're not allergic to egg. A lot of people were confused. Like a lot of our family thought that you were allergic to corn and egg, but you weren't. You just had a food sensitivity.
yeah.
We fixed it with probiotics and supplements, cleaned up the leaky gut, called it a day. And then after a few months, you were totally fine. Do you remember how simple it was to just stop eating corn and egg for a while and heal your gut?
Yeah, I think that was the first time I came to the realization that a lot of doctors overcomplicate things and they want to put you on so many of these treatment plans, but a lot of the times it's just something as simple as changing your diet or changing or working out more, and something as simple as changing what I ate so I didn't have a migraine. That really was helpful for me in a lot of things.
We had a 30, 60, 90 day and we followed them, but then we decided that we were going to go longer.
Oh, that's right, to really heal her.
We ended up eating super clean for a year.
Mm-hmm.
For a year.
What about Halloween? Do you remember all the years of Halloween where you were restricted because of not being able to eat things, and then your braces?
Yeah, it was mostly braces. I had braces for 5 years, as you know. I really missed out on Halloween. I was really disappointed when I couldn't eat anything great. But luckily, this happened the same year as I had braces, so I wouldn't have been able to eat candy anyway.
That's a good point.
Unless it was like chocolate, like without caramel or anything. Like some chocolates I could eat, like a Hershey bar or something. But in general, I couldn't eat candy.
A lot of people thought that we were crazy for not vaccinating her or going to the pediatrician every couple months or anytime she gets a sniffle.
Well, but that's the good thing about being parents. That's our choice.
Gosh, I'm really glad that we didn't take her and get her, antibiotics every time she had a cold or strep test or flu shots. We didn't do any of that.
No.
Now we have a senior. She's in AP classes, honor classes, looking at some very amazing colleges, for next year. And my daughter isn't on any medication. My daughter isn't allergic to anything. She's extremely healthy. She's on the swim team. She's very smart.
She never gets sick.
She reads a lot.
I mean,
almost a photographic memory. And if you follow us, you've probably heard our episode, No, Don't Touch, and other harmful things that we say to our toddlers. That was an amazing episode. And then there was another episode where Dr. Harmon talks about teaching his toddler to walk around the house, not grabbing things, but feeling things. And that actually developed his daughter's senses in her fingers and stuff. And that almost helped her have a photographic memory. So there's just things that we do as parents that we don't know how much impact it can have on that child's life later.
Yep. About Bella being sick, she has been sick. I mean, she's gotten sick, but there are kids who they seem to come home from school and they're sick, every other week or 3 times a month, or
And it's interesting too, because when Bella gets sick, it's like a day or two.
Yeah,
and then she's old, and she's been around kids that have had strep. I actually remember with the chickenpox party.
Yeah,
I tried to get her the chickenpox when she was little. She didn't even get the chickenpox because she had such a strong immune system.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I totally remember that.
She recovers fast. Her immune system got stronger because we allowed it to do its job instead of shutting it down every time with antibiotics.
Yeah, plus she's not afraid to get dirty, get germy. She's not a germaphobe because, she knows she's got a strong immune system.
She's a fantastic hand washer. She's the only teenager that I would trust food from. If she handed me a chip or a cookie or something.
Yeah.
I remember being questioned by schools or, other parents or, definitely other parents, but other friends, about not vaccinating her and getting exemptions and stuff. And I stood my ground. I had done enough research to know that I was definitely more concerned about vaccine injuries and vaccine reactions and the ingredients in what was in vaccines versus her actually the chances of her actually getting something that you're getting vaccinated for is so low that I wasn't worried about that at all. And then if we did get something, I knew she had a strong immune system that she'd be able to fight it off just fine.
Yeah. And even though we chose to raise her that way, it's not easy because sometimes your insurance won't cover whatever it is you need to take her to. Organic food is more expensive. So, there's that. But we felt that it was worth it to be organic and go to the more holistic route.
Naturopath.
Even though it cost us more.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a fair trade in our book.
Looking back, we see it as an investment. Bella's now 18 in October. She's never been dependent on pharmaceuticals. She knows how to listen to her body. And she has deep trust in natural health. She's very aware of going to the chiropractor, going to the dentist, going to the eye doctor. This might be a little late for parents that had to get physicals and sports clearance. You do not need to go to the pediatrician for sports clearance. A chiropractor is fully capable of doing everything that you need done for a sports physical clearance for any school. And definitely look into exemptions on vaccines. If you choose to not vaccinate, you can definitely get an exemption and they don't need to be vaccinated to go to school. That is a big myth that you have to be vaccinated to go to school. I'm super grateful for all that we have been through. My car accident led us to the chiropractor to get my back adjusted the day after. He led us to looking into a more holistic lifestyle with not vaccinating, not going to the pediatrician for all the well baby visits. And then navigating through to when she was 7 and her headaches and finding the naturopath doctor, which then led us, to naturopath and functional medicine doctors. I'm grateful.
Oh, I am too. Absolutely.
Because it's made us healthier too.
Yeah. I mean, you can't expect her to eat healthy and you not eat healthy.
Did you lose 20 pounds when we went on the rabbit diet?
Probably.
I think I was about 10 pounds. Probably. I lost 10 pounds.
I did have a little bit of, well, probably not when she was 7. But yeah, I definitely had a little extra. But again, you have to, you got to lead by example. So if she's eating the rabbit diet, we're eating the rabbit diet.
What's interesting too is when you compare unvaccinated kids and kids that aren't on a bunch of medicine to kids that are fully vaccinated, it's night and day. Fully vaccinated kids, they're allergic to everything. They have all kinds of autoimmune issues going on. They've got issues at school. So there's got to be some correlation. And I was having a conversation a couple weeks ago with a friend of mine, and she's like, I just don't understand what's changed. Why are kids now allergic to dogs and cats and peanut peanut butter, well, let's look at the ingredients in the vaccinations. If you look back, and I don't mean for this to be a vaccination episode at all, but it's very near and dear to my heart. And Dr. Harmon and I are doing a huge vaccination episode later in September. So you have to watch out for that. You really need to know the ingredients in all the vaccinations. And knowing, I was born in 1977. By the time I was 2, there were 12 vaccinations given. If you have a baby today, by the time they're 2, they get 72 doses of vaccinations. A lot of parents don't know that. Parents will say, oh, I was fully vaccinated. Well, that's great. You were fully vaccinated with 12. Your baby now is fully vaccinated with 72. Gigantic difference. So when someone says to me, I don't understand what's changed over the last 5, 10, 15 years, why so many kids now have peanut allergies, why so many kids have autism, ADHD, autoimmune issues, why do kids have to get on a program at school because they're learning slower than other kids? Well, the one thing that's changed the most is they've added so many vaccines to the vaccine schedule, and changed our food supply. So that's just a horrible combination. And then whatever else they're spraying in the air, I mean, it compounds.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to point out, a few years ago, I was introduced to a holistic dentist, which I wish that I had been introduced to a holistic dentist early on. So what I recommend, if you're a new family just starting out, you have a brand new baby, definitely find a naturopath, a functional medicine doctor, a really good optometrist that specializes in infants and babies and can really get early testing done, and then finding a holistic dentist.
What I would tell parents is that they should listen to their kids, because I know a lot of people who have had problems in the past where they have a headache or they hurt their wrist or or their foot or whatever, and their parents don't listen to them. They think they're just making it up. I think it's very easy to think, oh, my kid is just making up about having a stomachache because they're out of school. I think we should really start to listen to our kids or to your kids. Yes, maybe one kid is making something up, but I would rather double check and make sure they're okay than to have that problem go unchecked and maybe it gets worse.
And one last thing, educate yourself. Do some reading, look stuff up on the internet.
Not just Google because it's censored.
Don't believe everything you heard, us included. Just do your own research and learn for yourself and make your own choice for your family.
There are a lot of parent groups out there where parents talk freely about experiences they've had with organic, non-organic, and living a holistic lifestyle. Finding a good chiropractor, I think that's pivotal too. Finding a good chiropractor. Dr. Harmon and I did a podcast on how important it is to get your infant to a chiropractor as soon as possible. Days after they're born, they really need to get into the chiropractor.
You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to think that you need to literally clean out your pantry and throw all the bad stuff away and get a bunch of organic stuff and do it all at once. Start small, but do things that are going to help you more, like limit your processed food or decrease or get rid of soda, and start with that and see how you feel. Because if you feel better, it's because you limited or got rid of those things, and then lean into it more if you want to.
I love that. Baby steps.
Baby steps.
It's been a process, and I forget that I've been doing this for so long. I'm used to using vinegar and baking soda for cleaning. I'm used to having a wool ball instead of dryer sheets. I have a wool ball I put essential oils on instead of dryer sheets because dryer sheets are toxic. Some people don't know that dryer sheets are toxic. Some people like that laundry smell, which actually is toxic to you. But I forget that I've been doing this for so long that I've already been through the house. I've already been through all of our cleaning products. I've already cleaned out the pantry. I've already done all of that. The laundry, the toothpaste, the shampoos, the lotions. I've already been down that rabbit hole. I've already investigated ingredients on all of that. The skin is the largest organ. So, even lotions and things like that, I've already researched all of that. So, Tony, I think you're right. Baby steps, because it could definitely be overwhelming. We were at the grocery store last night and I cringe. I see this cute little family and they've got 2 little toddlers and they're throwing Cheetos and Doritos and they're throwing cereals in their shopping cart. And I just saw the whole shopping cart full of the red dye and the processed food. And the really big thing that I wanted, the takeaway that I would like you to get from today is knowing ingredients. So ingredients in everything, ingredients matter. Looking on the back of your kid's cereal and it says now contains bioengineered ingredients. I cannot stress to you enough how important it is that you do not feed your kids forever chemicals, because that's exactly what they are. They are forever chemicals. If you flip over the bread, the peanut butter, the cereal bars, everything now has bioengineered ingredients in them, and they are extremely dangerous for our bodies. Our kids cannot process them. We can't process them. Please take away one thing from today. Starting small, reading some ingredients, maybe thinking twice, maybe getting organic cereal, switching to organic fruits and vegetables. I did another episode on the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So there's the Dirty Dozen of things that you absolutely need to buy organic. And then the Clean 15, there's 15 fruits and vegetables that if you can't go all organic, you can buy those non-organic. That's a great place to start. Food, reading labels, things like that. But like Tony said, baby steps.
And it is a process, because some of that stuff that you eat that is organic or better for you may not necessarily taste as good. However,
you guys joke, it's cardboard.
Because, let's be honest, the good stuff tastes, the bad stuff tastes good.
Doritos, Cheetos.
Yeah. But I promise you that if you change and you start eating better and you don't eat those things, that eventually, and it doesn't take a whole long time, but eventually you'll not be able to eat those things. Like Doritos, I used to love Doritos. And if I eat Doritos now, or if I have one, I can absolutely taste the difference, and they really are not good.
You know what it is for me?
What's
salad.
that?
I can,
Salad.
because I'm so used to organic or our homegrown lettuce. I can taste the chemicals when we go out to eat. If I order a salad, I can't order salad out anymore.
It does happen. Switch, you're not going to get anything that tastes good anymore. Your body will adapt and change, and the stuff that's good for you will taste good, and the stuff that is not good for you won't.
So is there anything that you'd like to tell our listeners coming from a 17, almost 18-year-old point of view?
Your kids are watching your reaction, so I think it's important that if you don't want them to have a bad habit, don't do the bad habit. Try to lead by example. Another thing that I'd recommend is try to customize their eating habits to how they like it. So, for example, every kid likes their sandwich cut a certain way, like either in triangles or split down the half. If your kids are excited about what they're eating, they'll be more inclined to eat something healthy. They'll be more inclined to reach for an apple or something. Try to make memories with your kids around food.
Do you remember when I'd have you help cut up things or help cook? You help me cook, or we'd open up a grandma's recipe box and we'd make something out of grandma's recipe box. And I did that too. I loved how you remember that, because I wanted you to be involved a lot. So you were excited to eat. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's super sweet. All right. So you're a senior this year. Do you like your school year so far?
I do like my school year so far.
How's your schedule?
I like my schedule a lot. I think I'm taking great classes. I'm really excited for everything I'm going to learn. I like my teachers, like most of my classmates.
Most of your classmates?
Yeah.
And tell me about swim. Do you think that eating healthy is important for your swimming and this year being on the swim team?
It definitely is important, because food is fuel for your body. So I think if you eat healthy and you eat food that helps you perform at that, athletic level that I need to perform at every day, it helps.
Do you enjoy baking cakes with me when we bake cakes from scratch?
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'm fine with it.
I love that. I've never made no, that's not true. I have made box cakes, but for our birthdays, especially your birthday, your birthday is always I make your cake from scratch and some elaborate design that you tell me a couple months in advance.
I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. You're my favorite person.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Can you believe you're a senior this year and you're almost 18?
I really can't believe it. It feels like I was a freshman yesterday.
Well, it feels like you're a freshman yesterday.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're also a reader.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite book?
Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Frankenstein is your favorite book?
Yeah.
What do you like about Frankenstein?
I love the writing style. I think a lot of people are missing like a really good writing styles, and like I love the writing style that Mary Shelley had because it's so academic and so sophisticated, and a lot of our youth is missing that creative writing style. I think it's not a writing style you see very much anymore, and I just really liked how she describes everything. Dracula by Bram Stoker is also one of my favorite books, and he has a great writing style too.
That's fantastic. I have not read either of those. So do you have plans for after graduation? Do you have your sights set on anywhere that you want to go to school?
I'm still trying to figure that out, but as you know, I have a list of schools. So I'll apply to probably Penn State because I want to be a forensic scientist. So I want to go to a really good forensic science program.
What excites you about the forensic science program?
I think there's just something new and different every single day. I couldn't do a 9-to-5 job. I couldn't do it. So I think the possibility of figuring out clues and helping solve the crime and processing evidence is something new and different every single day, and that's what excites me about the job. And I've always loved shows like that. I love like being involved in things. I can't sit behind the desk. I like being out in the field and working with my hands and trying to solve puzzles, and yeah, so that's why.
Are there other topics that you hear about that you've heard at home, either organic, non-organic, vaccinations? Are there other topics that you hear at home that you hear something contradictory at school or around your friends or work or anything?
Probably anything related to vaccines. I just, I understand why people are for vaccines, but in my experience, vaccines don't work well with my body, and I've had reactions from a vaccine, and I think it's also important to consider other people's perspectives. I wish people were more open-minded because I feel like a lot of people are very close-minded. They don't want to even entertain your thought or opinion, and that has always frustrated me because I always try to consider both sides of the story, and I feel like people don't do that anymore.
I have wanted to raise you to think for yourself and not just believe what I believe just because I tell you something. I want you to have a mind of your own and be able to think for yourself.
Thanks.
I love that a lot. And I completely agree with you. I think that the whole country would be better off if there wasn't such a divide and like, this is what I believe, this is what you believe. And if you don't believe what I believe, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
I think being closed-minded like that is very immature. And frankly, it's sad.
Yeah.
There are things, I've done 18 years of research on vaccinations. And I literally had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. And she's like, well, we completely disagree. The one thing too that drives me crazy about the vaccine schedule, it's a one size fits all. So they don't take into consideration a 10-pound baby boy versus a preemie. They're all getting the same. And that's another thing that always bothered me. You said something earlier that I loved. You said doctors overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very interesting answer because really your symptoms, you had a headache.
Yeah.
And it was something that you were eating. I know from the research that I've done, 99% of ailments start in your gut. So really, that's a true statement. Doctors overcomplicate things. They should start back to basics. Let's do some muscle testing. Let's figure out what you're eating. Let's clean up your diet, whether it's too much gluten, whether it's dairy, whether you have some sort of sensitivity. I mean, how would we have known? We would have never known your corn and egg sensitivity.
Yeah.
And I was telling our listeners earlier that, and I don't mean to bag on vaccines. I know that sounds like it. I believe everybody should have a choice, but I believe everybody should have an informed choice. I believe people should be open-minded to hear both sides and then make their decision, not just believe mainstream media, not just believe what their doctors are telling them, not just believe what they've heard all their life. Like really do some research and then make your decision based on listening to both sides of the story. What's something that surprised you most about learning about a holistic lifestyle?
I think what most surprised me about the healthy lifestyle is how amazing I feel when I eat healthy. Like you can just tell, like your body, you feel more refreshed, you sleep better, you notice physical changes, like you're skinnier. Overall, I think food should be fuel. Like that's how you should view food. And I understand people have different relationships with food, but overall that's how I try to view it because I'm a student athlete, and I think viewing food as fuel is important in that regard.
Remember, you're the parent. You get to choose what's best for your child, even if it doesn't fit into mainstream narrative. What I love now is more people are waking up to everything. The red food diet number 40, people who knew about that? I mean, I love that the last 4 years have happened. I mean, it sucked going through COVID, but I think that it really shined a light on a lot of topics that people just didn't know about, weren't aware about, which is one of the main reasons why I love having this podcast, which is why I started Root Cause Holistic in the first place. I wanted to share what I've learned over the last 18 years, especially the last 10 years with Bella's food sensitivities, and how something so small as something that you're eating could cause an ailment. Everything starts in your gut. Absolutely everything starts in your gut.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope that this inspires you, or at least gets you thinking about how to start down this natural path to food and health.
And in the show notes, there'll be 7 tips for raising your kids naturally. Don't fear the unknown. You're the parent. Thanks for listening. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Root Cause Holistic Health. We're here to help you uncover what's really going on and empower you to take the next step in your healing journey.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, or just someone ready to stop settling for Band-Aid fixes, we hope today's episode gave you something to think about.
If you found this episode valuable, do us a favor, share it with someone you love, and leave a review so we can reach more families like yours.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode. We've got more honest conversations, practical tips, and root cause wisdom coming your way.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and most of all, stay connected to what truly matters.
We'll see you next time on Root Cause Holistic Health.